Hello and welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Sprocket, West Kentucky, and KY Innovation. And welcome back to episode 280. We are talking the news of the last few days and weeks, and our goal today is what is it that we can learn that can help keep our organization a little safer in cyberspace. Our organizations, our families, us as individuals. What can keep us a little safer? As you can hear it in my voice, I'm a little under the weather, but we've been doing this for 280 weeks, and I didn't want to take a week off. So playing hurt today, or playing sick today, I guess is the better term. But anyway, we're looking at the news, so let's just dig into it. Um, the first thing I wanted to share today, actually, I find really interesting, in that when I'm finding articles that I want to share with you, I'm always trying to find a couple of nuggets that are interesting pieces of information that we can look at, that we can learn something from. And so, this first article, there's a few nuggets in this that I think are really interesting and worth sharing. Um, so the Verizon DBIR, which is the Data Breach Investigations Report, it's an annual report that's been coming out for maybe 2 decades. It's been a long time. Um, they analyzed 31,000 security incidents last year. Of these, more than 22,000 were confirmed breaches. Just as a point of reference, which I find this interesting as well, in 2024 they looked at 12,195 breaches. This past year it was 22,000, almost double. But in the past years, the way the data breach, the exploitation, the way the bad guys get in, um, a lot of times has been credentials, whether those are that's could easy for me to say, credential theft, for me getting you to click in on an email link that takes you to a website and you put in your username and password and I'm able to steal it, whether that's a password breach, database breach from an organization and you're reusing passwords. There's a lot of different ways it can happen, but that's been the most common way. In 2025, that only represented 13% of breaches. The most common way in 2025 was actually 31% of breaches were the result of unpatched vulnerabilities being exploited. All right, so last week we talked about 0-day attacks. 0-day attacks are where there's a vulnerability that's been identified, but that there's not a patch for it. That happens. Unfortunately, that does happen. Microsoft has Patch Tuesday every Tuesday because all of those vulnerabilities they roll up and weekly they send out patches. It is on us as the users, as the administrators, as the managers of these systems to update our systems. Here's probably the part of this that's most concerning to me is, you know, I think that you should immediately update. If there's a patch out, you should immediately update. That's kind of, okay, fine. I'm not asking you to do it within the hour. You get a day, you get a week. How long do you need to run those patch updates? What this report found is that the median time for full patching increased from 32 days in 2024 to 43 days in 2025. That means from the time that the vulnerability has been identified to the time that you put in the patch, it is a month and a half, almost a month and a half. That is not acceptable. That is why the credentials aren't being looked at anymore. If we know these vulnerabilities exist, then the bad guys can just automate this and just go right after it. Anyway, that's scary to me that's the number, but that's where we're at. All right. Another thing I came across that was really interesting to me. Small businesses have officially hit a breaking point. And what I mean by that, and what this article is alluding to, is that um, 91% of organizations are concerned about AI driven cyber attacks. First of all, I would say that's low. Everybody needs to be concerned about AI driven cyber attacks. 75% of small businesses experienced at least one cyber incident in the past year. And then at the same time, 54%, so just over half of the small businesses studied, and they talked to about 1,000 IT and cyber leaders, said that they lack the ability of delivering continuous 24/7 monitoring and response. 67% of them said that they need additional support to meet the growing compliance demands. The, if you're not monitoring your organization in the very near future, you're going to be required to. If you're not already required to, and you're just not in compliance, it's a real need. So, what this means is that these small businesses are starting to shift to MSP, managed service providers, to manage their network, to manage um, their security, and to monitor their network. So I think that's really important to note is that uh, about half, just under half, already um, have a have an MSP that they work with, but now it's a capacity that, is it affordable? Is it cost effective to do all that in house, or are you better off working with an MSP? And they're starting to shift more to that MSP realm. I think this is really important because I think this is an acknowledgement that I can't do it myself. And frankly, that's an important point. It's an important demarcation point, if you will, where organizations finally admit I can't do this all by myself, and who can help me? There's plenty of MSPs. I always say this: in the West Kentucky region, we're blessed to have a lot of really good MSPs, and so hopefully they can help you where your skills and capacity may lack. All right. So let me move on. Last time we did news, it was right on the heels of the Canvas outage. So, for those that don't know, Canvas is a learning management system that is used by nearly 9,000. Some say over 9,000, some say 8,800 schools, universities, and K 12 schools to manage their courses, including us. They had an outage, a ransomware attack, um, and Canvas reached an agreement with shiny hunters, the cyber criminals that were exploiting uh, Canvas, and Congress wants to know more. So, Congress, the House Committee on Homeland Security, has sent out a letter to Canvas asking more questions. There was a incident a week before. They fixed it, and then as soon as they fixed it, they had another one. So obviously they didn't fix it right. There's a report that they had another issue last year. Um, Congress wants to know, first of all, did you pay a ransom? If so, how much? Because all that's been reported is that they reached an agreement, and also, what are you doing? And what I mean by that, and this is the lesson, and the reason I included this article is what I want you to understand is they're asking, what are you doing? Because they had multiple incidents over the last year, or at least reportedly had multiple incidents over the last year. Did they fix the issues? Did they not? Do they not have the knowledge to do it? There's a lot of questions there, and the reason I think that's important is, first of all, did they have a vulnerability that they knew about that they didn't address? That is a real problem, and that has been an issue that many organizations have been sued and successfully sued because they knew they had a problem and they didn't address it. Second was, but kind of what they're getting at is, were they not following industry best practices? That's a problem. So there's a lot of that goes into it, and this is high profile because there's a lot of customers that got impacted, but there's a lot to go on there. Last thing I want to touch on, and I'm out of time, is Foxconn. got hit with ransomware attack. And the reason that I bring this up is Foxconn, iPhones are manufactured there. They have customers, Apple, Google, um, Dell, Nvidia. There's a lot of really big customers. This ransomware attack is not just a ransomware attack. If they collected information, then perhaps they have designs and engineering work on the iPhone or on some of these products. So if if you're a manufacturer that you're not the designer, you're not a tech firm, but you're doing something for a tech firm, then perhaps you could be a target as well. And I think that for me was a really interesting point where they were being targeted just because of their customers. Now, is that the case? Maybe not. That may not be why they were targeted. Maybe it's just about money, and a lot of times it is about money. But anyway, all right. Well, I'm out of time, overtime actually. But I found those stories really interesting this week, and I wanted to pass them along. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out, ask me the questions. I'm always happy to help if I can help. And thank you for joining in, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 to 10. Thank you. Bye.